Entrepreneur, Audacity, audacious. Now they're watching.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneur Audacity. Today, I'm here with Ichtus, and I'm really excited for this episode because we've known each other for a fair few years now. We've done a lot of work together, and you're actually one of the sponsors of the podcast too, which is exciting. Yes. So, without realizing it. So without further ado, can you give us an intro?
Yeah.
Please.
Name is Ichtus, so Director of Frontline Finance Services. Basically, my working career as a young man was FIFO, had that sort of desire to want to be in finance.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a pipe dream, and then eventually there was a small opening into that pipe dream, and then followed my way into mortgage broking, and then have since built my business around that FIFO, firefighter and healthcare workers, and that's where I am today.
I love that. Thank you for that. I was really excited to get you on the show because you have gone on that journey, and we caught up not too long ago.
Yeah.
And, you made a comment about like, well, you've now got the business to like cash flow positive, and how, you've been able to do that has been awesome. But you were in FIFO, and a lot of people, particularly where we are in WA at the moment, a lot of people are in FIFO, and so many people have these dreams and ambitions of like going out and starting things and doing things, but they actually never get to that point. So I would love to hear more about your story on how you transitioned from, okay, I'm in FIFO. You were wanting to do that business. You had the itch for it. And when did you just go, stuff it, I'm going to do it?
I think, like a lot of success stories, it comes from adversity. So basically, I was on a few BHP sites and I was very happy. I was very happy with my role, the people I was surrounded on. I got given an opportunity to go to an underground mine site, and it was really tough. So the circumstances, the role itself, the support, it was a really tough situation to be in. And that kind of actually pushed me away from FIFO. So at the time I was talking to my wife about, with kids and all that. And I thought, I'm not happy here. I'm not going to last another 6 months on the site. So I quit, and I told myself I'm not going back to FIFO. Yeah. So hindsight, I think, one of the biggest shifts for me going from like the desire to want to be in business or I'm going to create an app or I'm going to do all these things was to actually take myself out of that environment and put myself in the environment where I want to be. Yeah. So before that, I did want to start an app. I had a business plan for like a year to do trading and investing, and I had all these plans, but I was in a FIFO environment. So for me, the biggest turning point was getting out of that environment, and as uncomfortable as it was, go put yourself as a admin trainee in the right environment. And that's where things really changed.
Yeah, your environment really shapes everything. And it's so hard to, particularly leaving FIFO when you have such a stable financial situation, and it's hard. It's very comfortable, and like the money, you do work in pretty harsh conditions, but the work itself, depending on what you do, can be pretty cruisy with a lot of the roles up there. And it's not, I don't want to say it's not really hard, but in comparison to, I've worked in corporate job and I've worked in FIFO, and the corporate job left me pulling out my hair way more than a FIFO job ever did. Yeah. So, it is being able to, notice when you are in an environment that's actually not supporting that and putting yourself into that. So you mentioned about being an admin assistant. Talk us through that, because how was that shift to go from, probably, like in a role of like, I know the stuff, into a new field, new environment, and
a fish out of water. It's like just a complete fish out of water. So when I quit my mining job at that time, I told my wife, look, I'm not going back. She told her best friend. Her best friend's husband was a mortgage broker at Better Choice, and Better Choice Mortgage Services is where I started under. Yeah. So at that time, Ben told the boss, he said, look, I've got some guys interested in finance, and Vic Giannakis, who's the director of Better Choice, one of the directors with Sebastian Scuria. Yeah. he said, look, I need a broker assistant. Basically, are you keen? Have you thought of it? And I said,
Yeah.
I've quit my job, so when can I start?
Yep.
And yeah, we had a bit of a laugh, but he got me in for an interview and he said, look, it's all looking good. I think you've got the right sort of drive, everything else I can teach you.
Yeah.
So when can you start? And I said, now. Yeah, basically.
I'm available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I came in that next day and went to Kmart and bought some work pants and a badly fitted dress shirt and started it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because you just have to, the humble beginnings. We were actually talking about this before we press the record button on this, because it is, you just got to start. And like a lot of the time, the hardest thing is to just find a start and get yourself into the right area, the right environment. And I love that you know, like you just had that option, well, not option, that opportunity kind of open up for you when you went in there and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because now, can you talk to us about like, you know, where you're at now? Because you've gone out on your own and you're doing really well.
Yeah. Yeah. So that first year was spent working under VCAS's loan writer. So doing my Cert 4, my diploma studies. You've got to do a 2-year mentorship as well. So as you're working, an established broker's got to assess everything and sign off on it. So worked my way into a sole trader mortgage broker. So I was under Better Choice. And then, sort of the last 2 years, the growth has just sort of gone exponential. I hired my first full-time assistant, now I think it was a year and a half ago. So 2 years ago now. And 6 months later, my wife was meant to be finishing mat leave. And I said, you're quitting your job. You're coming on board as well. And, you know, you're taking on this big expense of a full-time person and the income is way behind where the expenses are going. And I sort of just had that drive to just keep pushing and keep scaling. And so, I said, look, quit your job, come on board full-time. And I just kept repeating that. And then, we got to 4 of us, including myself. And then, so now established and trying to scale up a little bit more where I'm actually looking at bringing on my own mortgage brokers. So trying to go from just me being the solo broker with a good team to being able to have additional options or additional brokers as well, basically to take that next level in growth. Yeah.
How exciting.
Very.
What was the journey like with working with your wife?
We met 10 years ago and she was the boss. So,
how the times have changed.
She was on the other foot. So when we met in Canada on a working holiday visa, I went to Canada to pick up a Queensland girl. So go figure. But so we worked in the restaurant. Katie was the kitchenette, the hand of the kitchen, basically, all the dishes going out and all the buses. And then I was one of the buses, moved my way into the bartender, and then sort of classic love story of bartender and server meet. And then we traveled together for a year. And then, we went on our journey. And then obviously when we made that decision to work together, we knew we've done that before. So we worked together for a whole year, basically. And we actually lived in the same staff accommodation. So the first year we were basically married. We were stuck in the same house, stuck in the same job. We were just in each other's hair 24/7 for a whole year. So it was a good test. It's a hard test. We had our moments. But where we are in our relationship now, when we made that call, we knew it wouldn't even be a question. Like we work so well together. And we're starting to get that feedback now from clients as well in the reviews. And they just, they see the 2 last names and they go, And so no, for us, it's an amazing choice to have that control and flexibility of our hours and our day and things like that.
Yeah. I love that. Love that you've been able to go on that journey.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny when you there's a lot of classic stories like that where you've met some people and they've ended up in these like scenarios where it's kind of like a make or break, you know? So
I do when I tell people it's either there is no way I could ever work with my wife or partner, or we could. I don't think there's a middle ground. You either know it's going to work or you know it's not going to work. So that's when it'll work.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's a really important thing to highlight because there's some people that you can work with and there's some people, respectfully, that you just cannot. And
you can be a great couple, but you're just not meant to be corporate next to each other. And we did say we'll give it 6 months. If there are any stresses, if we're taking work home, if we're talking about things at the dinner table, then we'll reassess. And so we just put those boundaries in place. And I mean, we blinked and 12 months have gone now. And
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Exciting.
Okay, so along this journey, what's been some of the hurdles or what's any situations has happened? Yes, please elaborate.
So, painting the picture here, I'm FIFO, 24 or something, really good income. Wife is government, really good income, no kids. And like a light switch, we go from these two stable jobs to, I'm going to go self-employed. Her government department gets cut because this is just post-COVID. So her job situation changes. And then shortly after I quit, she falls pregnant because for the first time in a year, I was in the opposite swing. I was home at the opposite time. And so we went from, young couple with good jobs to now there's a baby on the way. You've just lost your job and I've gone self-employed.
Yeah.
So that first year was just horrendous in terms of financial stress. Like we would just run off our feet in terms of, trying to do a diploma, Cert 4. She's on mat leave. She didn't have paid mat leave, so it's just the government one. So it got very hairy, like I guess a lot of businesses would start. And then, you throw that first kid in the mix, and then there was a whole range of things that followed with that. We got through that first bit, very shaky, but we made through it. And then moving into our second year, we sort of, second kid's on the way. And throughout that as well, our second born, we realized about 5 or 6 months in, he's had a few sort of medical concerns. So then the last couple of years, we've also had to go through our second born, going through like neurological testing and things like that. So throughout this whole journey of on the outside, top 5 new brokers in the state, my admin won an award, we're winning awards, but on the inside, it's just been this hell of a journey of building a business, her losing her job, 2 kids, one with medical needs. And that's like what you say, that audacity around entrepreneurship is the back end, the driving force has just been one adversity after the other to make things work. It wasn't ever a choice. It was there was just one thing. There was the first kid and there was the second kid, job loss.
Something else.
And it's just been 3 or 4 years of driving force has just been, no choice really.
Yeah. That's really hectic.
Yes.
Firstly, absolutely. Like that's really crazy.
I can't put it into words what the last 4 years have been like, but again, at least the last sort of 6 to 8 months, we've had that real first glimpse of stability where the business is really thriving. We should get results later this year. What's happening with our little man? Why he's not moving the way he should be? So it's the first signs of sort of normalcy returning to some degree.
Yeah. I think your story is really quite incredible because it's hard enough starting a business by yourself. I'm just a single-old me just out here doing my thing, let alone, when you've got the ups and downs of like a partner to support them losing their job, children, and not just one child, but 2. And then, the medical situation. That's a lot. How did you stay focused throughout that? Because I don't know, like, I've had a lot of stresses going on at the moment, and some days you just feel beat that you kind of want to just hide away. And, I know I've been getting emails from you some nights very, very late, very, very late, or very early hours of the morning. So I know that you've been on the grind, but how have you stayed on track and stayed pushing through all of this?
I haven't. There were times where I had huge crashes. Like the reality is it's not just been 3 years of I'm focused, dialed in and running like a gun. It was more waves. It was like 3 or 4 months of 80, 90-hour weeks and then a month of just crashing into the ground, sleeping for 3 days on end sometimes, turning the phone off for 2 or 3 days because you're just so burnt out, so tired. And then you go, I've had a bit of a rest, pick yourself up, start again. And it was just that on repeat for 3 years of Christmas. You give yourself a bit of a break over a month, and then January things can start kicking off. June, July, it can slow down a bit again. So it was just this wave where I gave myself just enough break every now and then throughout the year to then take the second half of the year on and so on.
Yeah.
But then again, those circumstances in the back end was the driving force. So it wasn't really, I wouldn't put it down to my own focus. I wasn't like, right, I'm motivated, I'm driven. It was just a case of, I don't have a choice.
Yes.
Like it was, and I, in a roundabout way, I attribute a lot of my success to the circumstances. I don't think I would have been capable to voluntarily work until 12:30 at night, 1 a.m. for 3 years if I was in a comfortable zone. So yeah, the classic case of the circumstances just drove me to push further than I probably could have ever pushed myself, like
Yeah.
voluntarily.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, in a way, looking back, silver lining, it's
Yeah.
gotten us to where we are, but yeah, not at the cost of a rough couple of years.
Yeah. It's a really important point to highlight because the journey for everyone is different, you know, and some people, you know, life will happen. There's always going to be things that are going on. And when you have the audacity to then try and start a business and, you know, be the person who's financially stable and getting your family together and like all of that, there's so much that plays into it. And yeah, I love that you've tied in that that's been a thing that's actually like pushed you to achieve what you've achieved because, you know, and then to go on and win awards and things like that's incredible, you know, and like I've got bias obviously because we've worked together and I think you're a dead set legend, you know, but when you do get like recognition from like external sources and things like that, that actually
shows that the work we're doing for the clients is recognized outside as well. It's not just an internal thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I would really love to hear maybe more about, or maybe what you would say to someone who is thinking about starting a business. Maybe they're on the fence with it. Maybe they've got some, you know, turbulence going on in the back end of their life and they just think starting a business with all of that, like what would you say to you with the knowledge that you have now going through that period?
Having spoken to quite a few other successful brokers as well, every awards year, you kind of try and get insight into some of pretty much everyone above you. You're always trying to strive for better. I think looking back on the feedback I've had, I would sort of, tell myself, but anyone else, identify what your success is. Because success is not awards or growing to 5 staff what is your success? Is it to just replace your current income? Is it to grow $1 million business? Figure out what your success is first so that you know what you're striving to. You're not just slogging along. For me, my success was replacing my FIFO wage first. So that was kind of my goal is I'm going to quit. If I can replace my FIFO wage, I'm happy. I'm home, I'm in Perth, and I've done that. So that was a good centerpiece goal to go for. And that gave me a little bit more confidence into like, right, I know what I'm driving for. And then it ended up into 4 staff members instead sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things is find what you're good at and monetize it. Or if you're not good at something, do what you love and monetize it, but also have that goal around what is my success? Is this going to be a hobby or is this going to be a passionate project that evolves into a major business? So that's probably one of the biggest things is just have that target in front of you so you know what your target is.
Yeah. Of course. That's really cool. And, you know, I was doing an episode with another guest and they were talking about like the comparison and how, you know, when you do know like what your goal is and like what you're working towards, it kind of helps you separate yourself from, you know, there's brokers out there but getting millions and millions and millions. And if you're like, hey, I'm going to start off and your expectation, you set the expectation that
it's demoralizing
in 6 months I'm going to be a millionaire.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, actually, reality check, that's not going to happen. And then you're going to have a brand new kid on the way. You're going to have all of these things. So it's really like you've highlighted a really good point of getting clear on what success is for you. And I think, you know, when people do go into business, we see there's a couple of things. There's the internal driver of like, hey, I want to start this thing. And then there's almost like you're like, oh, I want to compare, you know, I'm competing. Who's the best in my field? And it's like, do you want to get to that level? And you might, and that's totally fine, but you might actually not. But then you also might have the external factors from people. And I don't know if you face this when, you know, you tell someone that you're starting a business and they're like, we're waiting for you to be a millionaire. And then it's like, oh, you're not a millionaire yet, but you've been working for a couple, like what's happening there? And it's just like, oh, hold on a second. Yeah. You actually don't know that. Like for me, my goal isn't to become a millionaire. It's just to get to this point, you know? And I think it's really like more people need to be aware of that because it's all good and well. Like we want to go into business. We want to start these things. It's like, yes, absolutely. Let's do it. And I encourage that. But don't go into it for the wrong reasons. And I'd love to get your thoughts about like people who do go into things for the wrong reasons. And have you like seen how that's maybe played out?
I haven't necessarily seen the wrong reason, but I have seen other younger brokers join the industry. And I think without that centerpiece goal or understanding what their success is, they can get quite influenced by the social media side of things. Like you're starting out and you see other brokers do 50 million or 100 million in loans in their first 2 years. And you demoralize yourself to go, okay, well, I'm back here and they're way over there. I'm not successful. But if you had that sort of centerpiece goal of like, okay, well, my goal is to replace my previous income or get to this many, maybe get my first staff member in 2 or 3 years or something, then you don't listen to the noise or the other surrounding factors that can kind of create that stress or that feeling of I'm not where I need to be or I'm not going where I should be going. You know you're going where you should be going if you have your goal in front of you. And then you see those other things and, okay, that must be nice, but you also know there's probably a story behind that. So I think that, it's a big thing to tie in is starting it for the right reason, but also, again, just identifying why. Like, where are you taking this? What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to quit a FIFO job? Are you trying to do a side hobby? That's the main thing. So you're not just sort of wandering around. You have a directive goal to track, I guess, and sort of take in milestones.
Yeah. Yeah. Always goals are very, very good things to
And
have.
they change. Like I've set so many goals that I probably don't even remember, but it was always that something that you can either aim towards or deviate away from because you know that's no longer the thing. But if you don't have those directional pulls, then you kind of feel wonderless. You're just aimless or, going forward without like intent.
Yeah. And tying back to, you setting the goal of like where you wanted to get to and things like that. Maybe not setting the goal rather, but like how did you know that it was like mortgage broking that you wanted to go into?
The pipe dream when I was doing FIFO, I spent a couple of years studying property shares. I did a lot of trading and investing. So the finance interest was there. I thought I was going to be a stockbroker. So naturally, night shifts I was trading. I was getting into derivatives and things like that. So I thought, this opportunity in mortgage broking's come up. That's close to finance. Maybe I can do that and I'll build myself up a little bit and then start a stockbroking thing or something like that. So again, back to the goal. The goal was so far away from being a mortgage broker. Full disclosure, I didn't even know what the mortgage broker did back when I started.
Yeah.
I called my mate who was the broker at that time and I was like, can we go for a beer and can you tell me about this?
Yeah.
Because when we bought our house, Katie did everything. I was on site and gave her all the logins for the banks and my stuff and my work pay slips and said, you do it. So I didn't even know what a broker did back then. I just heard about it, went to have this catch up with this mate, learned more about it. And I thought, okay, this is a good alternative or a deviate into my existing goals of being a stockbroker.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started, it was probably about a month or two in, I just knew. I was like, you're working with people, you're problem solving, everything is systemizable but different, everything is circumstantial but repeatable. And it was just these layers to it. You start off as a broker assistant, then you go into a solo mortgage broker, then you go into a business owner and you start having staff and now scaling with other brokers. So there was just all these levels that when I started, the stockbroking thing just fell off the wagon straight away. I thought I knew this is people, problem solving, and I'm not going to be bored for at least 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, nice.
So that's probably where I knew, because I'm very, my wife gets annoyed at me when it's always one thing after the other. It's like, what now? What's this new scheme you've got? What's this new plan? Like, I feel like I go backwards when I don't move forward really fast.
Yes.
And that can be a blessing and a curse, because the curse to that is, you're laying at night wide open eyed, wondering, what should I be doing? What am I doing? What am I not doing?
Yeah.
And that can be a big problem. But so again, when I got to that, it just kind of helped control that desire of like, am I moving forward? Well, yes, because if I hit that ceiling, the next ceiling is hire someone. And if I hit that ceiling, hire more people. And if you hit that ceiling, hire brokers. And if you hit that ceiling, franchise. And there's just no ceiling. There's always that, okay, I know there's another level to this. And that was what I needed to keep my brain a little bit under control.
Yeah. It's funny, right? The more people I interview, particularly people who have had the audacity to go into business, we all have that little thing that it's like the constant need to do move more, forward. Be more, and move forward, take action. I feel very much the same. If I don't have stuff going on, I'm kind of like, well, why do I exist?
What am I doing? Yeah.
Yeah, what's happening? Like, and you're,
Purpose. Yeah.
yeah, you need that purpose. And one thing I wanted to circle back to is, you know, those moments at like, because you mentioned earlier that you'd have these periods of like burnout and crash out, and then you kind of have a break and get back on with it. How did that all kind of correlate? Because I know that that period would have been quite a difficult one to navigate in. And did you ever at any point like really tap into like that purpose when you were just in those moments of like burnout, I've got nothing to give? You kind of like just sat there like, what am I doing? Like, how did you, was there a little thing that kind of come up that you connected back to?
I think that purpose was always there. That's what kind of kept it going for that long. It wasn't something I had to like dig into. It was just always there, of going from these two stable, decent jobs to almost losing the house in our first year, basically. Like we calculated at one point, I think we had like 2 or 3 months of savings left, and we would have basically been in trouble. So I remember talking to the director at the time saying like, I'm going to have to go back to FIFO. Like we're not going to make it. Like we're about to run out in 3 months. And so that driving factor of like, the purpose was I need to get out of FIFO and build this. And as soon as things started getting busier, I had that like, oh, this is great. It's starting to snowball a little bit. So I need to grab this because this might stop and the market might turn. And it just didn't. It just kept getting busier. So I was like, okay, good. Keep grabbing more because things might turn. And it just didn't turn. It just kept getting busier and busier. And I just kept working more and more. Yeah. And that first year, I should have hired a year ago. But again, baby came along and there's no way I was going to afford my first staff member. So I had to just push through because one person, a baby, basically wife's not working, so we had to just keep going. And that purpose was that driving factor, because it's like we almost lost the house a year ago. Now we're okay, we're doing fine, but it's at the cost of me working until 1 a.m. And I was like, okay, I'm fine with that because it's better than where we were last year. Yeah. So yeah, that was always just an underlying thing that was just there. It was just constantly, obviously at times the physical limits of your body would remind me that no, purpose is not infinite.
Purpose does not beat sleep.
It's a good driving factor and it's a good motivation, but I'm going to put you on the floor every now and then just to kick that circadian rhythm back into place.
I think that's a really good point to highlight is, you know, when you're building stuff, firstly, it takes time. Yeah. Secondly, it will put you on the floor sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes you are just defeated, you know, and it doesn't mean that, you know, maybe you've lost the battle, but you haven't lost the war, as they say, or, you know, I'm getting a bit philosophical here, but you know what I mean, right? When you're like, okay, I've been grinding away, and then you've been smacked down and you're like, cool, now you're going to sit and you're going to do nothing and you're going to recharge. And I think when, you know, I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, and when you do go out and go onto these ventures, it's being able to navigate those times where you do get knocked down, because it is great to be, you know, like when you got stuff coming in and you're like, I need to work until 1 a.m. It sounds a little bit sick, but you're almost like,
you're happy.
You're like, you love it, right? You're like, oh, okay, yep, we're going to do this. And it's just like, I get to do this. But then it's like the moments when you do get knocked down and you kind of have to sit and just, you know, take the rest and recharge, because our bodies do have like that capacity limit as well. You know, we all go through that on the journey. And I think when we learn to move through that with a little bit more grace, and, you know, do you find that maybe do you have more awareness of when you're getting to a burnout kind of phase now? And like, is there anything that you like, do you do anything differently?
Structure. Yep. So those first 2.5, maybe even into that third year, I purposefully didn't give myself structure. It was, I am going to take on as much as I can and do it as quick as I can. So it was just an open slather of, if a client came in, I was going to do it that same night. There was no systemizing. We had really good systems in the back end, but not for me, myself. I didn't allow myself systemize anything. So it was just open calendar, late nights, weekends, everything. And I took it in a staged approach. So as I started picking up the burnouts are getting worse, like I'm getting grumpier, I'm getting tired, I'm struggling to kind of, 5 p.m. daughter wants to play with you and you're kind of tired and your eyes are burning and you're not fully present. That's when I kind of, okay, no, stop. So then you start putting that structure in place, right? No phone calls between 4 and 7. And then that goes from 4 and 7 to 3 and 8. And then that goes no more weekends. So over the years, structure is probably what allowed me to go from that like relentless subject to burnout and needing to dig deep and, all these sort of volatile things
Yeah.
to sustainable growth,
Yeah.
which is put the structure in place. If it doesn't fit in that structure, then you need to reassess.
Yeah.
If my calendar is full now and I'm over capacity, then I need more staff or more team because my structure is being broken.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was, right, I'll take another call, I'll do another appointment. So that's been a huge thing is I've run my business completely structured, automated and really well. I didn't run myself very well the first few years by circumstance and choice. And now I've kind of really focused on, putting things for myself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because that's part of the journey.
Yeah.
It's easy to systemize a business, to set up structure and do all of that. And then, you're like, great. And particularly like when you got like team members that you look after, you're like, great, this is how you're going to work. Cause you take that element of care and apply that. And you're like, know the limits, know the guidelines of things that we need to work within. But then when it comes to yourself, it's just like you're prepared to flog a dead horse sometimes. And it's like, actually, you're the number one asset in this business, right? And as entrepreneurs, I think we've got to remember that we need to look at ourselves as an asset because, and I can't remember who says this anyway, we are our business's biggest asset. And it's like, you've got to nurture that. You've got to nurture yourself. And, I love that you now have, structure about how you do things because you see a lot of the time where it's almost like there's like that toxic hustle culture where you're like, get into everything and do all of the things. And it's just like, for a short period, you do have to go through some moment of bite everything off and then figure out how to chew it. But you can't, like, that's not sustainable over the long term. And I think like, when you do figure out that it's like, okay, I'm burning out, like I don't have the capacity, I'm not being present with my family, like how do I now structure it differently? And it lets you move through the periods of being an entrepreneur and starting a business because now like you've gone from just you to now yourself, your team and scaling, and everything changes on that path, like what's a problem what here isn't necessarily a problem here.
And ironically, our biggest growth and most scaling happened in sort of the last year or two where I worked a lot less than I ever did before. Is because that structure and that system and that team allows you to then step back a little bit off the tools and grow even more. So it's a big counter mindset for yourself to cross of hustle mentality. I got to work hard. I got to work long to hang on, if I can free up 10 hours a week of myself, even at the cost of, XYZ, it then lets you bring in more. And then so, it was a big growth step to take from solo broker, working long, this is great, I'm working long hours, we're killing it, to build a business, build a team that the team is sustainable as well. And that only happens when you also look after yourself. You put that in place so that you're not pushing that hustle mentality onto them because then, it just flows on through. The stress flows on through as well.
Yeah. That's a really good point to highlight because monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
and we don't realize that like when you do get a team and you are a leader, everything is heightened for you. Your team will see things, and because you're the one in charge, everything is heightened. And you cannot let them feel the stress that you feel, right? And we're so easy to not realize that and not pick up on that. And then if you are stuck in that, like, let's bloody grind all of the time, you're going to burn your team out. And when you do bring on a team, you want your team performing at like optimal levels. So you can't be like, hey, I need you to work 90 hours this week, please. Thanks. I'm only going to pay you for 40. Like you can't do that, but we'll do that to ourselves. Right. And, you brought up a really good point about like the structure and like knowing the flow of things. So what advice would you give to yourself now if you had to go back and do it again?
Honestly, if I look at the circumstances we were dealt with, I am probably as happy as I think I can be. I will give myself a little bit of room there to say, I think I did everything I possibly could have. from a financial point of view, from a mental point of view, trying to be as present as I could have been, working 80, 90 hours a week, plus building a system and a business and a team. I think if my circumstances weren't what they were, yes, I would have looked after myself a lot more and a lot earlier. But I think given what we were dealt with, I'm probably very happy with how we've done things, going from first year of survival, second year of head above water, third year starting to see some growth, and fourth year now we're really starting to scale up. So yeah, I think it's just looking back on it, if I had to do it again or do it any differently, I probably wouldn't have done it much different other than not be so hard on myself. I think knowing that now that it works out in the end, I probably could have backed off a little bit, but you don't know that at that time. So yeah, no, I think just looking after yourself is probably the only pivot point, if circumstances allowed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a really great thing to highlight, because I love that you've been able to sit there and acknowledge that actually, like I did, like with everything that you had going on, and you had a lot, to sit and recognize, like, yeah, no, within my limits, I did really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just even that aspect, a lot of people can't actually sit there, a lot of the time it's also like, oh, should have done more here, should have done more that. But sometimes all you need to do on the journey is to say, like, actually, within that period,
Tried your best.
did my best, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, because we are going to have moments where everything's great, and then we're going to have moments where everything's shit, and that's reality. Not everything works out as we want, and we have these hurdles.
And it's not linear either.
No.
Yeah.
No. Was there ever a point where you maybe thought that the business was going to fail?
Probably 3 or 4 times I told my wife I'm quitting.
Yes.
3. I think there's definitely 3, maybe 4 times.
Yeah.
Mostly in the first year and a half.
Yeah.
Even after I joined Better Choice under that trainee program, I got tapped on the shoulder for a role that was probably about 25K a year above like my previous role in the market, to go back to FIFO. And I was staring at, I think it was $50,000, $60,000 a year at that time.
Yeah.
And I get tapped on the shoulder to go to like 160 or 170. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay where I am.
Yeah.
That was probably the closest I got to wrapping it all up and saying, what am I doing? Like, I could have the house paid off in 10 years if I stuck it out. But then I thought back, I wasn't happy, slightly below that. What's going to make me happy going back there? So yeah, she had to push me a few times to say, you've done it. You've jumped off the cliff, keep going.
Yeah.
So yeah, first 2 years, at least 3 or 4 times, we got to a point where I was like, I can't do this. It's not working out. Working 80 hours a week for less than minimum wage sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's a few.
Yeah.
Got very close.
Yeah. I love that. And you did bring up a point earlier about, you want to do something that you love for the next 30 to 40 years.
Yeah.
So how did, we spoke about how you found like what your thing is, but, is there any advice that you would give to people on, if they don't know, like, where would you tell someone to start who was just sitting there like, I want to work for myself. I'm in a job that I don't like. Maybe they're in FIFO, they've got a good paying job, but they're just sitting there like, I'm actually not happy. Like, what would you say to them? How would you guide them to?
Going through my experience, I think it goes back to that mindset or that thought process of, if you're comfortable where you are, then the discomfort is not going to push you. So you can rule that out. You don't have enough discomfort to push you into your other goals or dreams. So kind of look at yourself and, like I said before, do you have something that you absolutely love, and can you turn that into a business and monetize it? Do you have something that you're really good at and you can learn to completely love it or become a passion, and can you turn that into a business or monetize that, basically? So when you look at a lot of the successful anywhere, basically, people who used to post on YouTube before it was a thing, they're now the biggest channels in the world, but they would just post a video a day, it would get 10, 20, 30 views. They were just doing what they love, and eventually it became a business.
Yeah.
So probably they're looking back at my experience, the main things is there something that you love? And for me, that was trading at the time. I love trading and derivatives and all that. So I tried to start a business of that. I tried to start educational material. I was writing programs to teach people and basically have like entry level courses on how to invest. So I was looking at myself and go, okay, I'm FIFO. I'm not happy where I want to be. What do I love? I love trading. How can I turn this into something? So that didn't go ahead. And then I was like, I want to start an app, fitness or something like that. So it was always just, what do you like doing? how can you turn it into a business?
Yeah.
So that's probably the main thing, is what do you love, or what are you good at and you can learn to love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, because you got to play trial and error.
Yep. Like I did.
Yeah,
It's just
it does.
every 6 months it was something new. I'm going to start now. I'm going to start this business.
Yeah.
Create an investing course. I
Yeah.
just knew I was not going to do FIFO for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Calling my wife on her birthday from a 2x2 room, I was like, I can't do this for
Yeah.
any longer. I need something. So it was
Yeah.
just trial and error, one thing after the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we mentioned this last time, a bit of a Jim Carrey yes man.
Yes. Yeah.
I started, that actually came off the back of a mate who used to give me quite a bit of stick for difference between gunners and doers.
Yes.
When he used to work alongside me, he's like, mate, you're just a gunner. You're an absolute gunner. I was like, oh, why? Because I'm killing it. He's like, no, you're always gunner. You're always gonna do something. I'm gonna do this. It's like, you
Yeah.
never do anything. And so he used to give me quite a bit of stick, and it's like, just do something. Like, stop planning, stop mapping, stop analyzing, just do things.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a shift in, okay, well, I'm not going to plan a business. I'm going to start writing educational stuff on trading, and then I'm not going to plan an app. I'm going to start. So
Yeah.
that going from I'm going to do something to just start doing, like
Yeah.
just start testing the water. And
Yeah.
every 3 or 4 months I changed, but I knew, I was like, okay, well, that didn't work out. Instead of I got 5 or 6 ideas, it's like, I started crossing them off one by one. And when this opportunity came up to quit and go broking, same thing. I was like, okay, just do it. If it doesn't work, maybe go back to FIFO, but just do it. Don't map it.
Yeah.
But that helped a lot.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way to, capture it. Just start and, do it, don't map it. Because a lot of the time, and, so many people, we spend so much time faffing around and planning and doing and thinking and analyzing. And it's like
paralysis by analysis.
Yeah. Don't be a gunner. I love that.
Yeah.
I've got a good friend who actually says that as well. And it is a thing. We're always going to do something. I travel a lot, and I hate something that really fires me up is when I'm traveling, and I'll talk to everyone. Do you know me? But if I'm traveling and I've spoke to someone who, I was going to do this, I was going to do that. And, when everyone's like, oh, what you got going on, Angie? And like me, to be a type A personality, can't sit still, has all these projects happening. People are always like, oh, I was going to do this, I was going to do that. And it really irks me when it's like,
once you hear it.
Yeah. And then when you have someone who's putting it back on you, that's a big thing. And, it's like, you got to appreciate your friend who did that, right?
Yep. And we're still in touch now. We sort of every now and then, because he owned gyms back in the UK.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. He was the classic doer. He just did it and he followed his goals, and I was the gunner, and I was always going to start an app and going to do this. And so we laugh about it quite a bit when we catch up about how the business going. He's like, mate, you're finally a doer. You just do it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I'm glad that you're still friends throughout that period, because it is nice when you have, as we go through this whole process of becoming an entrepreneur, we face internal doubts. We face doubts from everyone else. We have so much going on. And then if you're like, oh, yeah, I got all these ideas and I'm going to do something, and then, you have someone put it back, and you can be like, well, stop being a gunner and just do it. And then, you start doing the things and playing trial by error, getting the data, matching it up. You're like, all right.
And just the confidence. You also get happy at failing. It was this like, okay, well, what if this app doesn't work? And then it was like, okay, well, that didn't work. Move on. And it takes you from that, be happy with failing, because every time you fail, it's one less thing to worry about. It's move on and learn from it. So that was big as well, as going from that fear of like, well, how much is it going to cost me? What if it doesn't work? To just try it.
Yeah.
And that helped.
Yeah. Yes, that's really a really good point.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain just went off for a second. You got to try, and you got to be prepared to fail. I think that's just a beautiful way to encapsulate what we spoke about today, because it's a hard journey, and you're not always going to get it right. And things will go west, things will work, something might stick, and then you get these glimmers of oh, okay, maybe this is a thing, and then it's nah, that's not a thing. But you built that confidence of okay, I can do the things, and even if they're not working and I'm failing at all these things, you still just do it, and it builds that resilience of you can handle that setback, and you can handle all the adversity that you get throughout the journey, because you faced a lot of it in really big ways, and a lot of people who are going into entrepreneurship, they want to do all these things and they don't have those massive life stresses that you've had going on. And, you know, I like that you channeled that into a point of it's actually been a bit of a, you know, a blessing in disguise because it's pushed you in different ways. So, you know, you've got to roll with the punches on the journey because there'll be punches and you'll get straight up knocked in the face or like a little uppercut here. And it's always unexpected on the journey. And yeah, I find it really interesting. Like when you talk to people, because I talk to a lot of people, right? And there's like that common thread of it's just there's things, everything's always happening, but it's the ability to kind of like sit back and like roll with it and be okay with, okay, here we're going here, now we're going this, and now this is the path, and everything's a little bit unclear. But you know, as you say, when you have that purpose of like what's keeping you going, you can just work through it and like keep.
And even just taking the adversities and finding or making up a silver lining, even if there's no silver lining. It's like, oh, this is motivation. This must be a sign.
How funny is that?
Make it up.
Sometimes you do need to make it up. You're absolutely correct. You know, like I haven't been in your position, but I've had like my own stuff going on with an injury and, you know, it's left me out of action for a while, and you know everyone's like, oh, you're so lucky to do these things, and I'm like, I don't know if it's luck. Like I've lost feeling in half of my foot, but God forbid we won't talk about that, but you know, but
make a silver lining if you
make the silver lining. I love that. Make the silver lining because you know I always say like I'm annoyingly optimistic, so I can, you know, and I think it's because you can channel that silver lining.
I think I've sort of grown up like that as well. And I've had a lot of personal adversity as well before meeting Katie. And she knows my life inside out growing up. And for some reason, I've always just tried to see it as it's just another chapter in a book or a movie. It's like for everything that's happened in life, it's like, okay, well, maybe this has something cool at the end of it. Never the victim mentality or why me, or it's like, hopefully this means there's something cool coming. And having that mindset made you focus on the good things. So when it does eventually come, it's, oh, there was something good. Even though it's just circumstantial or luck or whatever, you start focusing more on the driving factors versus the weighing down factors.
That's great because you do have to learn to see the good and focus on the good, because if you get hung up on the bad and you only focus on the bad, then that's all you'll see. It weighs you down and it just creates more of a mental block. Then it's like, all right, cool, this is shit, but I'm gonna make the best out of a bad situation.
Like that meme where the characters on the house on fire and they're like, this is fine.
Everything's fine, no worries.
Exactly like that.
We can get through this. Are there any, you know, we've spoke a little bit about some of the adversity that you've faced. We won't go too far into it, but are there any like key things or lessons that kind of come out that were applicable from that period of your life to applicable to your journey through business?
I think the main lesson was just to, like what I've done through all the recent stuff as well, is use those things to drive me in the right direction. So I've had friends and family and other things that had sometimes even similar adversities, and you saw the impact of adopting the wrong mentality around that, of letting those events that happen drive them in the wrong direction or make them adopt the bad habits versus like, all right, I'm going to use this to drive me to go to the gym or something. Like I think just adopting that mindset of using adversity to find an excuse of where to drive that anger or emotion or hurt or whatever it is having a channel for it. Because when you don't have a channel for it, it finds something something else. So I think, like you said before, there's always going to be punches. Everyone in life will have their stories, they will have their moments. So I think throughout my whole life, I've just learned to channel my bad emotions into something, channel it into the gym or channel it into running or channel it into starting a business. So I think that's been a big thing. And from an advice point of view, like you said, is just learn to take that into something productive versus letting it find its own outlet, which then usually ends up into drinking or loathing or, you know, being hard on yourself and things like that. So that's been a big thing for me, is just there's always going to be something new, so channel it. Send it somewhere.
I really like that. You know, and you made a good point about if you don't have somewhere to channel it,
It'll find somewhere.
It will find somewhere. And, you know, there'll be so many people who have probably gone through a lot of that adversity and those challenges who are channeling it currently into the wrong things. So, you know, what are your thoughts on how would you how would you guide people to rechannel that?
Structure and do it. Like just take something, start it, structure it, and start doing it. If it was going to be exercise, put a map in place. Right, I'm going to do it 3 times a week, this days, and just start. Like, just find something that, again, like something that you enjoy or something that fulfills you, and just start, and then put a structure in place. Because for me, structure will always be discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline, we are subject to our own ups and downs, whereas a structure doesn't give you that choice. You just have to stick to it.
Yeah.
So find what fulfills you, just start, and then structure it. That's probably the best way.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Question I ask all of my guests. What does Audacity mean to you?
I think Audacity for me is removing the fear of judgment, because there will always be some form of judgment. Like we sort of spoke earlier before, if you are successful, a lot of people will look at you like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, good on you. And then if you're not successful, some people will be like, oh, so it's not working out, is it? Like there's always going to be some form of, you know, whether it's online judgment or if you post something, there's going to be someone commenting something. So I think remove that fear of judgment and just do what you love, because there are so many people that do the silliest stuff you can ever think of, and they make incredible lives out of it because they have the audacity to just do what they want to do and roll with the judgment. So for me, growing like a social media presence has always been a holdback, because I feel like I haven't had the audacity to just do that. So, you know, preaching here without actually doing it, that's a hurdle for me. Is I've always had that, like, well, I'm not comfortable speaking. I'm not even comfortable doing podcasts. Like, I'm not comfortable, and I've held myself back. So I'm trying to now challenge myself to say, right, you need to get posting. You need to start filming things. You need to start doing it. So for me, Audacity is remove the fear of judgment, because it'll hold you back in so many different ways. Just do it, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that was a beautiful answer. That was such a wicked answer, because it is like we get judged by everyone. Everyone's always got something to say. But you know, the people who don't have something to say are the ones that are doing more than you, because we're too fucking busy grinding away doing all of these things. You know, and I love that, because you do just have to like lean into the parts where, you know, I love that we've been able to sit down and do this podcast as well, because I remember when I first thought that idea up, you're like, yeah, okay. But yeah, you got to have a bit of audacity. And, you know, even for me, like starting this venture, I was like, I'm pretty confident with things, but I was also like, you know, asking people who I was just, you know, are these people even going to give me the time of day? And a lot of people do. And I think it's really cool when you do.
Self-doubt.
Yes. Yeah. There is so much self-doubt on the journey, and you just got to, tap into it, have the audacity, and just remove the fear of judgment. And because, you know,
I think if you accept there's going to be a level of judgment, whether good or bad, then it doesn't become a hurdle. It doesn't become a question. It doesn't become a fear, or it's like, just post it, just do it, just start that idea, just get into it. And then, soon enough, you'll find that, okay, it's okay. It's fine.
Everything's all good. It's a big thing to really focus on. It's just, just do it, because someone's always going to have something to say, you know. And I've done some interviews with people who didn't have, you know, their partners weren't supportive of their journey. So, you know, like there's so many things. It doesn't matter like where it's going to come from. It's going to come from somewhere in some angle. But when you're just like
family or work colleagues, or even just randoms on the internet. Warriors now.
We love them. 100%. It's it's a whole journey. It's a whole journey, and you know, I get really excited about it, because it's like, well, let's see what we can do. Let's see where we can go. You know, we were having like a bit of a brainstorm just on like some of the things, you know, the possibilities of places and potential that you could take, you know, things. But the key thing is to just get started and release that fear of the judgment and just start it, because you don't know
enjoy it a little bit as well.
How often do we not actually give ourselves permission to have fun and enjoy it?
And then that was a big thing for me as well, is in those early years, it's like, you could have just enjoyed it. Like there was so much stress and pressure, and it has to be this and it has to be that probably could have enjoyed the journey a little bit more.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's like we never really sit back and go, ooh, that was good. I'm going to just celebrate this. And I remember after, we settled my house, we went out and had, like drinks and dinner. And that was great because it was like, oh, no, we're celebrating this. And it was like, oh, and we went through it.
Because you were not without your own hurdles.
Yeah, we went through a journey.
Yes.
But, like that really taught me. And there's been like a few like moments where it's like, okay, no, hold on. You've just made a big milestone in your life.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it and give yourself permission.
Give yourself a little bit of room to enjoy it.
Yeah. And then get focused on the next thing, because unless we keep the ball rolling, if the ball falls off the table, it's like, what's happening? Like,
No, definitely.
Awesome. Well, this has been awesome. I do have one last final question for you. So is there any piece of advice that you would like to leave our listeners with?
I think learn to listen to your gut and then action on it. If I look back on everything, when I was FIFO, good income, my gut was telling me I wasn't happy. And it took a while before I actually started listening to it. And then when I made that jump, my gut was telling me to do a rebrand and niche into a certain area. And that chewed at me for 8 months before I did something. And then before I hired someone, it took a year. So the gut feeling was always there 6 to 12 months before I ever did anything. And once I actioned that feeling, always good things came from it. So I've definitely learned to, if my gut's telling me something, move on it. Basically, it's coming from somewhere. Something inside of you is telling you something that lines up with your moral compass. So do it. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, is learn to listen to what your gut's saying and action it.
Yeah. I love that. That's wicked.
Thank you.
We never listen. Every time, I don't know about you, but every time you have the intuition of, hey, I should do this thing, and you're like, nah, should be right, not going to do it. And then something colossally major will happen. Like, you're just like, why didn't you just listen to your stomach?
Just learning the difference between a little thought and your gut. Like, you might have little thoughts, but when that little thought keeps coming back and it's chewing at you in different forms and it comes back in different ways, that's that intuition. That's that gut feeling. It's not just, I might do this one day. It's every few weeks, you're like, I would love to do this. Or it's that constant internal magnet that's dragging you somewhere. Listen to it.
Yeah, that's wicked. That's what a way to tie up this episode. This has been amazing. I loved having you on the show, and you know that I'm such a fan. I just appreciate you as a person. Like, you are incredible, and the things that you have gone through has just been incredible. And I know so many of our listeners are going to take so much from your story, because we often see the bright side of becoming an entrepreneur, and we see people who start businesses and they're making all this money, but you don't see the raw and harsh reality of what goes in the back end. And you actually sharing what you've gone through is just a reality check that what you see on the outside isn't exactly stemmed from greatness and a great place. Like sometimes actually I've been put through the ringer and it was either sink or swim, and people love to externalize and then look and be like, oh, okay, judgment comes in, but it's like, if only you knew what had happened for me to get to this point. So thank you so much for sharing.
Having me. It's definitely been, it's awesome, and I look forward to seeing the episodes.
This is exciting. We're doing this interview. We haven't actually launched the podcast just yet, so we're building all the suspense, and I'm really excited to get this out there. This is going to be wicked. So
thank you, Angie.
Yeah, all of the Ichtus's contact details will be in the show notes, and any place that you would like to send the listeners to if they want to get in touch with you.
Yeah, I mean, our website or details, as you mentioned, will be provided.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to help anyone in every way I can. I've got in my bio, helping people is what I do, and it's not a cliche, cheesy saying. I genuinely love helping people. Doesn't matter what it is. I've helped people in the industry transition into broking. That's competition. It's like, no, I'm helping someone else with their goals. So whatever it is, personal, home loan, finance, anything, we're always happy to help.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that rings true for me. I'll go a testimonial one here. That is an absolute fact. So
thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for our listeners. You know the deal. Like, subscribe to all of the things. And we'll see you on the next episode.